Does anybody want to go live? I'm always like, I'm gonna ask my sister because, like, for some weird reason, it can relate to what how I'm feeling of what's going on in the cosmos. So
Well, we're certainly all going through um, this enclosure where we're all enclosed together but separate
yeah.
in our own homes. We have this spirit of community where we're coming together this way through the air. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, according to where we are in this time frame, we may be entering the age of Aquarius, and there is no exact date as to when that's going to happen,
Hmm.
but it is a transition to where that's where we're all ultimately going. And I wouldn't be surprised if this potentially turns out to be our new normal
Our new
to
normal. Like, do you think that, wait, like being like the social distancing, is this the new normal? Like, I mean, honestly, I don't really mind that much because I'm actually kind of a introvert, like, or I mean, I think I'm social like when I'm out, like, at parties or whatever, but normally, like, I just like I'm just home or working. But I don't know if this is what I want for my new normal.
this, you were already in a quarantine
I was already quarantined like for a year now.
since I was born.
Since 2015. So for a lot of people who don't know about like the age of Aquarius and like what was the age before and like what is happening in the cosmos that we're entering into the Aquarius, or how does that work for maybe for people who don't really know, like I just kind of like the basics of like how that works.
Well, you might have heard about the Great Year, or what the Mayans called the Great Year, that it takes about 25,000 years for the Earth to rotate on its axis.
Mm-hmm.
So when the Earth rotates, it kind of does like a wobble. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you've ever played with one of those spin
Mm-hmm.
tops, and
Yeah,
the
that the Earth is
center.
on an axis, and that supposedly every I don't know how many thousand
Mm-hmm,
years, it just like wobbles. But
mm-hmm.
does the axis? They said that the axis was gonna shift. Is that correct?
Well, in my personal research, I don't think that that's what we're looking at. And hi, everybody. Hi, Alex. Hi, Chris.
Hey guys, I was telling them if they have any questions, if they're not sure of like what exactly the terms are, we'll try to see like the questions and try to answer them at the same time.
So every in that 25,000 year precession, it goes around in a circle, and
Hmm.
each time we're looking at a different part. We're in a different part of the zodiac, the way it
Hmm.
appears to us, Earth
Hmm.
centric.
Like
So
the way the planets are aligned, like there's a like they start shifting,
the
or how does it work?
constellations,
The constellations.
yes, like the constellation of
Hmm.
Taurus or Scorpio, how
Hmm.
it looks to us, not
Oh,
how it
okay.
literally is. Um,
Just from our point of view to
because
like from the Earth up, basically.
yes, yes, because obviously, if you're on the sun and you're looking at the different constellations, it's gonna look
It's gonna
completely
change.
different
Yeah.
than
Hmm.
how it looks to us. So basically, each age is about 2,000 years. The
Hmm.
previous age was the age of Pisces, and in the age of Pisces, the sign of Pisces is these two fish,
Hmm.
right? And we also have the symbolism with Jesus Christ of it being symbolized by a
Yeah, like a
fish.
fish with the two little sticks on
Yeah.
the end or whatever.
Well, in Pisces, those two fish
Is
are
the universe
actually
resetting the Earth with with the pandemic? Is the universe resetting the Earth with the pandemic?
Well, and this is not just my own opinion, you know, this is a loss, also other kind of literary, scholarly work of other writers, philosophers, and astrologers, and just people that I read and listen. According to, we're gonna, I guess, backpedal a little bit. So in Indian, I guess in Indian chronology, in
Mm-hmm.
their chronology, we're in what's called the Kali Yuga. It's kind of like another major chunk of time
Mm-hmm.
that there's a sequence of these chunks of time, and then they
They
reset.
reset or they
Hmm.
shift.
It starts over.
How
So
many years is like an estimate between ages? Like we were in ages the age of Pisces before,
yeah,
now Aquarius. Like how many years does it kind of take to transition?
supposedly, because you know, astrology is an art, and it's really a metaphor that helps us give us it gives us helps us get to meaning,
Mm-hmm.
um, to turn back into time and to look at the placements of everything that goes on in the stars and and find meaning in our
Mm-hmm.
lives because we're interconnected. I mean, I'm sure you've heard, you know, we're all made of stars.
Yeah.
We're
Mm-hmm.
made of the same elements of stars. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some people even believe that stars have consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But just touching back on that point of the Kali Yuga, nobody really knows exactly how long a yuga is. Um, Suppose it's like a secret, and it's you know, a secret
Mm-hmm.
among uh,
Like high priestess and
yeah, people in Tibet or the elites or
monks. Mm-hmm.
only certain privileged people have that information. And supposedly, what's left of this Kali Yuga, according to some measurements, is about 400 or 500 years
Mm.
to where we're going to get to a point in time where it resets. So that's in the East. That's in
Mm-hmm.
India. That's their chronology.
Like their theory. Mm-hmm.
That's yeah, that's their point of view. And we're here in the West, you know,
Sorry.
with the Greek, what we have is
Mm-hmm.
those the ages. You know, the age of Pisces. It was 2,000 years. You some people could say or estimate. You know, this started with the coming of the Messiah, and it ushered us into you know, before the age of Pisces, we were in a period of time with a lot of when there was a lot of cruelty, and there's
Mm-hmm.
still cruelty now, but the message that Christ brought, for example, was revolutionary, to love one another, where before
Yeah.
it was an eye
Like
for an eye.
yeah, to forgive. Mm-hmm.
So it kind of it's all vibration, you know. It's kind of like we're in a tone, we're in C major, and we're going to G major. We're
Uh-huh. Like one step.
increasing, we're
Hmm. Well, they
increasing
say that we're
in
going
vibration.
from third dimension to fifth dimension. Does that have like anything related to the cosmos? Or maybe I'm just going to do, I'll just let you like, I think you should talk first and then we'll get to the questions. Talk first, like, and maybe explain like what you wanted to talk about, what's going on right now.
Sure, sure. So
Mm-hmm.
the age of Aquarius, I really like this analogy to um, that cartoon from Fantasia, where Mickey
Mm-hmm.
Mouse is the
With the brooms.
sorcerer's apprentice. Yes. So we are, you know, oh, we had the internet start in the past 20, 30 years, and we're kind of harnessing this invisible, it really is magical power that brings us all together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, But like Mickey in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he's not quite ready.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't gone through all the trials and tribulations that maybe this old Merlin like
Mm-hmm.
person, wizard,
Yeah.
uh,
Then he keeps on like fucking up and throwing all these like buckets, and then all of a sudden it's like full of water, and
pues
like, oh,
sí.
he puts like a broom to put all this water, and then he just messes it all up.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he takes this book of magic and he starts instructing the broom to do his work because he's lazy. So
Mm-hmm.
he puts the broom to do it, and then all of a sudden the broom, has a life of its own. And before you
Mm-hmm.
know it, he's flooded. Uh,
Yeah.
it just,
So you think we went like ahead of ourselves, like in the past energy that we were kind of setting back in some way?
I think that the technology that we have has evolved so fast,
Mm-hmm.
and now we have AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's alive and it has a mind of its own.
Yeah.
But our hearts
Mm-hmm.
and our
Thanks so much for an
souls
incredible time. Thanks. Mm-hmm.
our souls aren't at the level
Aren't
that our
prepared for like
technology
all
is.
this stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we have the issue of technology. Oh, it's supposed to better the quality of life of people, but
Mm-hmm.
then you have people misusing.
Mm-hmm. And then,
And
and it's also kind of like separating us because it's like, when's the last time that you have like a real conversation? Most of the time, everybody, like when you go out, you're always in a hurry and you're always on your phone when you're eating out, and you kind of lose that connection, that person to person, that humane realness. And so I think, yeah, that's true. Like the technology has a lot to do with it.
yeah, and I have a friend who is an Aquarius sun, and one of the jokes that I tell her about her Aquarian sun is, oh, you Aquarians, you love humanity and you want to help the world, but you hate people.
That's
Don't breathe
true.
on me. Hazte para allá. Oh, but I
I
want
feel
to
like I
help.
know a couple of people who are like that. Or maybe I'm like that too. I'm like trying to help people, but like I just want to be alone.
Yeah,
I want to be in my room
I
all the time, but I'm sending good vibes to everybody from here.
well, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
We're together
Uh-huh.
here, but through the miracle of the internet flying through the
Mm-hmm.
air, however it is that it
Yeah.
works invisibly, but we're able to come together through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Good
probably
vibes.
what
¿Qué
that's
dice?
probably what we're going to be seeing.
6 feet apart, but good vibes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So that's again, and astrology is not an exact science, it's more of an art, and you can use it for predictive measures, but it's really to help us understand where we are in the cycle
Mm-hmm.
of life. There's, you know, like history, it repeats itself. Why does it repeat itself? Because
Mm-hmm.
our timeline is not linear, it's cyclical. It comes back. How many
Mm-hmm.
times have we had viruses, plagues, and the pandemic? Um,
Is that connected in some way, astrologically? Does Is that connected to what happens like every so often, like especially like related to the diseases, like how you said, well, right now we're going through COVID-19, but we've been through this before in other ages, and actually they said that COVID-19 was like a bacteria already a virus already back in the
Yeah,
17 or 1800s, you know, so
yeah.
it's like, how is this like repeating itself constantly?
Well,
Hmm.
karma
Hmm.
comes back, and it's not it's I'm not saying it in a bad way, like, oh, we
It's
all deserve
karma,
this.
bitch.
Maybe we do a little bit. Maybe we do a little bit, but but this universe is mostly love. Um,
Hmm.
it's mostly love. But there's something about us that the universe is saying, we're coming back to this lesson,
Mm.
and we're going to come back to it, and we're going to come back to it, and we're going to again
I'm
and
gonna
again
to
and again
repeat
and
it
again and
until
again.
we learn the freaking lesson.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah. And what is it? You know, we're seeing the disparity.
Hmm.
Some of us have a shelter to go shelter in place, and some of us don't. Some of us can go and hoard toilet paper. Some people can't afford to pay $50 or $80 or whatever it costs to hoard toilet paper. Some people
Hmm.
can't. Some people can't do that, and it's showing us also how fragile our whole
System is.
socioeconomic political system that could
Hmm.
just crumble by something that's invisible.
By something so small that like the whole world is being affected by it.
Yeah.
And so, what do you think we can expect these times, especially? Well, right now we're in a transition, right? So, like right now, what can we expect energetically wise between the shifts of energy? Like, how does that affect us personally on a daily basis, or like in these next? Hola, Gia. ¿Cómo estás, Gia? Cositas. She's like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
And what
Well,
can we expect, like on a personal level? Like, what can we expect happening to us energetically wise in the next couple of months related to this issue?
I think what we can, well, first of all, we're going through the great Saturn Jupiter conjunction. Saturn and Jupiter come together every 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
The last 20 years, where were we? We were in and 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
again, using, nobody thought, I remember this from the George Bush talks or interviews, that, oh, nobody thought that someone can use an airplane as a weapon. Nobody thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unheard of,
So they
unheard of.
heard of everything, they prepared
I
for
mean, they heard of
everything
it,
except the one thing.
yeah, because it was unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and again,
But is
we're
this on purpose, or is it like, or like what's going on?
Pues, I mean, we talked about it last time. I think
Mm-hmm.
we could look at this many ways, and we don't have to be married to just one
Theory. Mm-hmm.
explanation. We can contemplate many points
Many
of view.
possibilities.
So one was like, okay, man, we're so interconnected that one guy ate a bat in China. Now we're all sick, or we could all get sick and die.
Which reminds me of the disgusting dream that I told you about, but we'll get to that in
Okay,
a minute.
we'll get to the dream in a
Yeah,
little bit.
I want you to finish first, like about astrology, and I'm sure a lot of people are curious to see how that affects us directly and how that's interconnected with what's going on right now.
So this, if we just, let's just look at history, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you know the history, then it's easy to predict the future. What did we
Mm-hmm.
have in 9/11? Our
Mm-hmm.
lives changed.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Travel changed, and we became a little bit more tolerant to more invasive
Mm-hmm.
um, policing and security at the airports. or being surveilled. We gave up a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's the idea, the concept of, technology improving the quality of human life, but then it's uh, but the result is
Mm-hmm.
more limiting.
You know,
And
it's
where,
it's it's funny how like it seems like New York seems to be like the epicenter of like all freaking disasters. Like
yeah,
I'm like so sick
what
of
the
this.
hell, New
I
York?
want to go to New York, but it's like every time there's like something going on.
Well, they say if you can make it there, you can make it
Make it
anywhere.
anywhere. So if you survive coronavirus, if you survive 9/11, you can make it anywhere.
You you have gone through the crucible. You are pure gold.
You're
You
golden through life.
approved,
We're approved,
approved,
certified,
approved, checked. Yes.
bulletproof.
Uh, we could probably just see, like we talked about music,
Mhm.
going from one key to a higher key, maybe just more surveillance, more limitation,
Uh-huh.
more invasive.
Like another level of security. Well, this
Yeah.
time it's probably going to be more of like sanitation.
Yeah, like maybe TSA, it was feeling people up in their pants and all
And
over
their
the place
butts.
in their butts. And then coronavirus, now we're going to look at your blood or
Yeah. Or up your
it,
nose.
yeah, we need to
Hmm.
check your vital
Yeah.
signs and record them or take your DNA, let's make sure, you're not going to be
Hmm.
a future um, rebel or
Hmm.
whatever.
Another weapon, bioweapon. Hmm.
So and I've also just kind of heard from news and stuff that if we look at the other coronavirus and the SARS and the MERS, it's something that just doesn't get eradicated. It comes in waves,
It comes in what?
in waves.
In waves.
Yeah. So my intuition is that this is, it's not going to be it in July or August. It's just going to be a new normal
A new normal.
to 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 quarantine or to isolate yourself.
The social distancing. I think, well, at least for me, that I came here to LA for acting. It's like, oh my, it's like contra viento y marea. O sea, every time there's like something, like, but for us, it's affected because obviously anything that's like a gathering more than 10 people has to be canceled. And so a lot of actors are worried because, well, actually, a lot of them are being fired from agencies or they're letting go, basically. Like a lot of production teams and agencies are letting go of a lot of talent. So a lot of people are actually worried because of social distancing. So we're probably going to be like the industry most affected. The entertainment, the gig economy, these kinds of jobs that require, you know, crowds of
Physical
people. Yeah,
presence.
physical presence. So I guess now they're gonna start doing things online, which actually I got casting to do a video, and they said they're like we're not gonna leave home. Like actually, I'll record myself, and they'll use that content to create like the commercial, or whatever. So it's you're right. It's probably gonna transform a little bit how we work and how we
Hmm.
yeah, well, how we work as a system.
Well, we're gonna get creative.
Hmm.
This is just gonna, I think it's gonna unlock a lot of possibilities or just things that you wouldn't think of. And that's part of this kind of isolation, which is also uh, kind of like a gestation. Like we're all going back to a womb. We're going back to our homes, and we're gonna
Hmm.
go there and sit there and and sit with yourself
And
and
reconnect, reevaluate your your priorities, your morals, everything. Like just kind of reinvent yourself and reorganize your whole life, like. And I bet a lot of people might be very uncomfortable with that fact that like you're just used to like the rat race, going, 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 working, 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 and that you forget to stay in contact with yourself or with your close ones. And I think a lot of people who are maybe not in tuned to their inner self are going to have a harder time, because if you have conflict with yourself, this is it. Like you're by yourself. So me personally, I'm actually kind of grateful for quarantine. I know there's a lot of people who are suffering, but has really helped me kind of reevaluate like what's important to me in this life, and maybe see some things that maybe normally I wouldn't value, and now that I value that I have a roof over my head. I value that there's food, that I have a nice, comfortable bed, that I have my space. Like maybe before I wasn't so happy in my space, but now I'm like really enjoying this space, and enjoying my own company, and just kind of like working on myself. And so I mean, I hope a lot of people are using this time positively, like positive way, and really connecting with yourself and working on yourself. But anyway,
well, yeah,
so
it's like the universe said, now you all been bad, go to your room.
I don't know if this is what
Go to
other
your
people
room and think about what you've done.
I don't know if people are all going through the same stuff. They say like collectively we're going into like a higher consciousness. They say that this is kind of like a collective awakening. That's what I hear a lot.
I agree with that, and I would add that we also have to grow down also, like a
Like
tree.
root.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the trees, have branches and they reach out to the sky, and the leaves make photosynthesis, and there is a function up and out in the open, and then there's also a function that is taking place underneath the
Mm-hmm.
surface. Very important, and uh, according to some scientific research, uh, you know, trees communicate. They're
Mm-hmm.
able to communicate by their root systems.
Oh, really? That's cool. That's interesting, because like you would never think that. And actually, I was like thinking of something maybe related to that topic. I was walking. I I'm trying to stay in, but one day I went walking and I realized that the pavement was being lifted by the roots of the trees. I'm like, I wonder if all this time, now that we're not circulating, like kind of, I feel like Mother Nature and like animals and plants are like just kind of like slowly starting to grow again, and like, take back their land, like because we're all the time in the way, and so like they stay away. And plants are alive, trees are alive too. And I just noticed that like the roots of the trees are all like cracking the pavement. And I'm like, man, like I wouldn't be able to imagine if we were to quarantine for a year, like the world would be a jungle. Like,
Yeah,
so
well, nature always wins.
maybe this is nature, saying like, hey, this is my world, like this is
Yeah,
my
we
we're
definitely
just we're just guests here.
as individuals and as humanity, as a collective, we we went up, in very high, lofty ideals, technology, intellect, a lot of very high things. And
Hmm.
when that happens in you and in all of us in the collective, we also wake up dark things. It also wakes up, the dragon that's underneath, hiding in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
It wakes up, because that's the world that we live in. It's that polarity. I don't, if you
Yeah,
remember, we had that conversation
yeah,
about good and evil, black and white, day and night. We live in that, uh,
and that
in a
polarity.
duality. Yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
duality. We have a lot of advances, but then we have epic suffering. It's
Mm-hmm.
both. They come together. They come together, and they both have a purpose. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just us here.
I'm gonna get some water really quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like drying up. Sorry.
Does anybody have any questions or want to comment? Hi, everybody.
Sorry about that, guys. Because then I'll be like thinking about it, and then I won't be able to concentrate. I just
Yeah.
can't. Anyway.
Well, we're all, I think we're finding out, we're all interconnected, whether we believe that a guy ate a bat in China.
Okay, so that was my dream. Now that we're talking about it,
Okay. So
maybe
what
you
was
can
it?
help me interpret the disgusting ass dream that I dreamt. So this was like a couple of days ago, and so during this quarantine, some days I'm like really happy and everything feels like it's like perfect, and then all of a sudden I'm like like turning into like a monster by myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's that duality, and I think it's also like the transformation. Like a friend would tell me that like sometimes these kind of transitions, it's like how like when the snake, when it starts like peeling and shedding the skin, like
Mm-hmm.
it could be like kind of uncomfortable, weird transformation, but you're going through it, but at the end the skin is nice and soft and clean. So I think it's maybe something similar, like the transition. Like some parts of it are nice and smooth, but some of them are like creepy and like uncomfortable and weird and all this kinds of stuff. So I think it was last week, and I've been trying to like keep super like positive about like this whole scenario, whatever. But that day I was like, I don't know, I think my energy was just like really off. And then I went to sleep, and then I dreamt that I think I was like in China, and I was having this soup, and then all of a sudden I was like, this tastes like an animal. And I was like, but it was so weird because the like I can taste it. I can, and I remember when I woke up I can still taste it. And then when I tasted, like I was chewing on something that looked like meat. I'm like, is this meat? And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then all of a sudden, like I realized it was a fucking bat. Like in my dream, it's not real. It was a bat. And I was like, what the fuck? Like who fucking gave me this shit? And so like I threw it, and then all of a sudden like I started turning like into like I don't know, like this vampire animal, no sé, bestia horrible, like I was like, what the fuck? Like it's funny how, or maybe through social media, since everybody keeps on talking and talking and talking and talking about it, like that you think that you're like turning into a bat or something.
Well, let's just look at the symbolism of a bat. Where do they live? They,
In the
they live
dark caves.
in
Hmm.
dark caves. They see in the darkness.
Hmm.
They're able to see in the darkness.
They're like, ¿qué dice? ¿Qué dice?
And she's just doing a drawing.
Gia, what are you drawing?
So let's just think about the what draws my attention is the bat,
Hmm.
um, because it's one of these animals that can navigate through the night,
To the night.
you know. And what is the night? The night is the unconscious.
Unconscious.
It's the unconscious. Uh, and I don't know if you ever went to Grutas de Garcia. I
Yeah.
remember the tour guy saying something like, you know, there was bats in there or whatever, and the tour guy said something. If we were to turn off the lights, these lights here, in a matter of time, like a short amount of time, you would go insane because it's so dark.
And uncomfortable.
Well, you would go insane from the darkness. Um, Yet these animal, this is
Their normal
their
habitat.
realm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, that signals that bridge. Remember that we talked about the bridge of bringing the things that are unconscious, bringing them conscious,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean this quarantine and the isolation. It's what it's all about, you know, to sit with yourself and
Yeah. Well,
to
it's rough. It's a rough. It's a
those
rude awakening
well, those parts of, you know, oneself, you know, that's kind of like a little hell that's inside, you
that
know,
lives in you.
and it wants to
Mm-hmm.
come up and say hi, you know?
Hi.
Hi.
Like a fucking gremlin trying to say hi.
Well,
But a
yeah.
lot of people are uncomfortable with these parts of life. People think that life has to be nice and perfect, and you're successful and everything goes right and you're manifesting all these abundances and stuff like that. But people, I guess, don't are not aware that life has that polarity. Life, um, there's gonna be the, I don't know if you would call it good and bad, but some things might not be as easy or smooth for you, and some things will be challenging for you.
Yeah. Or, you know, just because you're on a quest for knowledge and wisdom and now you're enlightened consciousness and
Hmm.
positive energy and good vibes, it doesn't mean that shit isn't going to happen.
Yeah,
If we become more conscious of light, then
there
what's
will be
the
more time.
there will be more darkness. But we need to see in the darkness, you know, like
Hmm.
the bats.
Yeah,
Not with our eyes, not with our physical eyes. You
with
know,
our
the
senses,
bats, yes, the bats use, you know, what do they use? You know, they use sound, vibration to
vibrations.
see. They see with an inner eye, you know,
Hmm.
what people will want to call the third eye. You know, it's the inner eye to see with the imagination.
A lot of people
Um,
think that like spirituality is like some dude on top of like Mount whatever in the Tibet floating. But I think a lot of people have that misconception, and people need to like also realize that like there's gonna be some uncomfortable shit that you're gonna go through, and this is maybe one of them. Like, you know, having to really stay and live with yourself in your world, and with your demons, because we all have like those demons or those that chat in your head or whatever you want to call it.
mhm.
every every person has a different label for it,
Your board of
but
directors with monkeys and gremlins and
all the
Wonder
sorts of,
Woman and then just all kinds of shit in the boards of directors and
and it's like you have to live with that shit, like, and you have to be okay with it, and because you the more you resist it, the more it's gonna come and creep and kind of show up in your face. So it's like,
well, to me, this the dream with the bat, and even tying it to what's going on with the
let me
world,
see, saludos Ingrid. Hmm.
uh, whether it came from a bat or they mutated the virus in a lab, you
Hmm.
know, whichever it could be. both. I don't know, a combination
Mm-hmm.
of the two that just exacerbated things. But I think in this case, the bat in the real life for the coronavirus and in your dream is it's a messenger. You know, like Hermes, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, is the winged messenger. The
Mm-hmm.
winged messenger can go to the underworld. It can
Mm-hmm.
go. He's the only one that can go to the underworld and can come back and go all the way up to Mount Olympus with the gods. Um, and the quality of maybe this spirituality that we're exploring now that we don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm. This is like you're going through the shit or you're going through the shit. Like there's no way out.
It's
Like
not like you
it
had a
doesn't
choice.
matter if you're fucking rich, if you're poor, if you're
Yeah,
whoever
yeah,
you want, eres fulano mangano, no
sí,
importa. O
a
sea,
todo
you're
mundo igual.
sí,
Um,
aquí todos parejos.
Todos parejo,
Mhm.
and he, I think this quality of spirituality is about being between two worlds, the so-called real world, you know, that you and
Mhm.
I and all agree is reality,
Mhm.
and the unconscious world, the underworld, the one that's buried in each and every one of us, and it speaks to us sometimes. It comes and speaks to us and tells us stories like the one about your bat in
Mhm.
bat soup. Um,
It was so weird. Like, oh my God. I was like, what the fuck is this?
well, they're parts of us, you know. It's like, my God, you know, why am I so why am I being greedy, or why am I being jealous, or
Mhm.
you know,
Or
this
why am I being so attracted to this darkness? Like, what makes you keep on coming back? And this sort, I think a lot of people are unconsciously, for example, are on Instagram talking about the virus and the virus and are just like really kind of being entertained by this disease and the talk of it and you know that it's like why are you so entertained by it? Like what why are you still there? You know, like if it's something I
because
don't know,
it's
like an
because
addiction,
part
like we're addicted to like all these bad news and this like this disease going on and we're like so so
well
entertained
part
by
of
that.
enjoying life and part of realizing our purpose and our meaning in life, whether we find it in the stars or in our dreams, is
Mm-hmm.
that we're here temporarily. And
Mm-hmm.
there are, you know, these two worlds, the real world and the world that is in the great beyond. And the fascination with the virus and people passing away is our bodies are attracted, you know, it has a magnetism. Death has is a magnet, it has a magnetism. uh
Mm-hmm.
the body wonders, you know, it makes us our minds can be consumed in the junk and the information and trash, but
We
ultimately I think
resist it, but we're like entertained by it.
the body
Mm-hmm.
is, our
Mm-hmm.
bodies are, they're like, you know,
Because like we're like a lot of people are so entertained by watching the news, and most of the news is like a lot of negative, you know, news or like bad
well
news. So it's like, why are we so entertained by all this kind of stuff?
it's a fear. It's, well, it's fear programming. And I mean, it would be good to, yes, it's important to stay informed, but then finding a balance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of this is about being between those two roads, being able to balance both. That I'm in
Mm-hmm.
reality and I'm gonna, you know, wash my hands and take sanitizer and wear a mask, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the reality. But at the same time, I'm not gonna forget that I'm a human being, and you know, the people who pass away, they, you know, they had lives, they had brothers and sisters, friends, co-workers, people that cared and loved them, and they had dreams. And we all do, whether you're rich or poor, I'm sure the rich people might be scared,
Yeah.
and maybe some poor
Because
people, maybe they've got nothing to lose, oh well,
mhm.
they're more accustomed to death. They live with it. They
Or like
they're integrated.
the fact that like maybe some people are losing money or are not making money, and some people maybe who are not used to having money, like it's not really affecting, because this is also going to like part of the virus is like the collateral damage is going to be the recession.
Hmm.
So I think maybe there's some people who are like millionaires that like they kill themselves because they lost, I don't know, like uh 200,000
Yeah. Well,
or
they got too little.
$20 million or whatever. But if like a poor guy loses, I don't know, like $100, he'll be like whatever, like
You're not attached to it.
yeah. So I mean, it's like it depends on your situation, or it depends how you look at it will affect you depending on how you see things.
Well, it's a metaphor. This virus, yes, it has literal, actual cause and effect that we all live and breathe. We're all immersed in it. But it's also a metaphor of that we're all connected. We're all connected, and one of the things that also is, part of this whole age of Aquarius is also having this connection to each other through intuition,
Hmm.
whether you want to call it telepathy or whatever, or being on the same vibration, where you could just know what the other person is thinking and feeling,
Yeah.
that we all become interconnected, not in a literal internet, but a metaphorical one, where we all have a uh, heart centered connection, and that's where we need to go, to in order to catch up to the technology that we have, and the
Hmm.
social political effects, or everything through within and throughout. Our hearts need to catch up to it. Our souls need to catch up to all of that.
There's a disconnection between the progress as in humanity and ourselves. So it's like, how can we live this progressive life and want to be like this? How do you say, like this? A civilization of the future, if like we're forgetting like the true roots, or how you say, like the true basics, our foundations, like that we're we're uh we're extraordinary beings. We're different. We're not like the animals. We have an intelligence. So it's like we're forgetting, like, I think the essence of why we're here as humans.
Well, I would even add, that animals have their own intelligence,
Their own
maybe,
system.
yeah, their own systems, maybe not like ours, and that we are interconnected with them as well. Um, but the one thing that does differentiate human beings from animals is our ability to imagine.
Somebody said the difference between a human being and an animal is that a human being can laugh. I was like,
Yeah, we have humor.
because like
Uh,
there's, if you think about it, it's kind of true. Like there's no animal that you see that can laugh. You think it has a personality, but you're seeing yourself reflected.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
your dog,
you're projecting it.
you're projecting yourself with your dog. If you think that like your dog is like you, like, I mean, I don't know, like I don't project myself in animals, but I do believe that they have like a spirit of some sort, like plants. But I don't know if I've seen a horse laugh. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, and they're all in their own little vibration. Uh,
Hmm.
to be, it's a vibration to be a horse, or a vibration that. causes a dog to appear, or vibration of humans. Uh, you know, but what we do have that is different is the ability to have an imagination, and to, for a lot of us, create our own souls.
Mm-hmm.
If our souls died somewhere, between crises and crisis, uh, we have the ability to go retrieve that soul,
Mm-hmm.
or create a new one, or create more to it.
Or
And
or or transform, or I don't know. Evolucionar. ¿Cómo se dice evolucionar? En
evolve.
evolve.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a message, this is a message, and we can get it, or not.
And so, maybe to wrap it up, so what do you think? Se corta porque I think we're
No,
barely getting there. That's why I said like an hour seems like a lot, but it's actually not a lot.
yeah, that went by pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that the end goal of the age of Aquarius is to exit that duality,
Mm-hmm.
to exit duality. If you look at the symbol for Pisces, the two fish are kind of like
Mm-hmm.
each going in their own
In a
direction.
different direction. Mm-hmm.
They're like pulling apart, so in the story of Adam and Eve, oh, you ate from the tree, and now you know the difference. You are like gods, between good and evil. So
Yeah.
we're pulled apart, by this day and the night, and good and bad, and
Mm-hmm.
the age of Aquarius will be about exiting, finding maybe that balance, like that story of Mickey that I started with,
Mm-hmm.
the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
It's
Uh,
about finding a balance,
yeah, that
like
we
in
have
all
this.
aspects, maybe in all aspects of life, even like with Mother Nature, finding a balance and balance in our lives with
Will
work,
be one of where we balance the intellect, the the heart.
the mind, the mind and the consciousness.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where instead of Mickey Mouse in Sorcerer's Apprentice, he went in and used magic for his own selfish purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That he comes back wise, and maybe do the brooming himself, doing the dirty work, doing the dishes, like we're all doing the dishes like crazy
Yeah.
right now. We're all called to do the dishes, and find a balance in the way that we use
Question, Nadia,
magic.
question for you. Do you believe in Buddhism? Um, I believe I believe that there are great prophets throughout history. I don't limit myself to one philosophy or one teaching. Um, but I think it's complicated when you start digging in different philosophies, because you can become confused. So that's something that I like to keep aware of. I've been to a Buddhist temple in Mexico City a couple of times, where I actually went to go meditate and do like the whole service and everything. I like it. Um, but I think my spiritual teacher or prophet that I most connect with is through Jesus Christ. So that's the one that really called me the most. But um, but I like to hear different philosophies from different cultures and religions. I like to hear them, and I find that every time I listen to a different theory, philosophy, teachings, or whatever, I find I always learn something new. So I try not to limit myself, or reject, or separate myself like as a religion, but I think it's good to learn from different cultures and philosophies.
Good answer.
And world peace. Thank you.
Later, Nadia. I'll let you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining in my live and connecting with my community. I hope that you can come some other time because I think the whole subject of astrology is super
Oh,
interesting,
yeah.
and especially right now, a lot of people are kind of really fascinated or interested with this whole topic. But hopefully you come back, and if you want to maybe invite them to your Instagram and maybe tell them what's your Instagram.
Mm-hmm. Oh, at
Yeah, yeah.
Orion,
Yes,
the Orion Astrology Guide.
Astrology.
We'll put the link there. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you Nadia. And
You're
yeah,
welcome.
there's lots and lots and lots to
I'm
dig, and
sure I'm
lots
sure
of
we'll